Have you ever been extended a calling and thought to yourself, this has got to be a mistake? They cannot possibly mean me. I had that experience several years ago when I was called to be the primary chorister in our ward. I had a lot of experience with young children. I liked music. I had been in choir, but I had absolutely no technical training. I knew nothing about the logistics of music, and I was terrified. But as I accepted that call, it was through that experience that I learned to apply the child development principles I had studied, along with simple singing techniques to teaching and empowering children. There are 5 steps to empowering children through music: establishing goals, creating an environment that fosters learning, helping children to feel safe and loved, teaching children about their power, and providing opportunities for them to exercise that power. Establishing goals. After that first week, I came home a wreck. I was sobbing. I was devastated. I was ready to call the bishop and tell him there was no way I could continue. He was going to have to find somebody else. But I humbled myself and I got on my knees. And my heart began to change as I asked the Lord to show me what He would have me do. I wanted to understand my purpose and what He wanted me to do there. That changed things for me. Once I began to establish what the goals and focus were, I began to have clarity, and I began to set aside the fear and know what the focus ought to be. First and foremost, I came to understand that my role was to help those children feel loved and to feel the Spirit, to teach the gospel by the Spirit. Once I had that focus, no matter what the setting, when you're working with children, once you establish your purpose and your goals, it's a standard, a measure that you can come back to, that when things go wrong, you can think, am I still in line with those initial goals? It's a very powerful tool. Number 2, helping children feel safe and loved. This is so important. You want them to trust you. You want them to feel safe. This can be difficult in large groups. It begins with connecting on an individual level. This can be as simple as smiles, direct eye contact, hugs and handshakes as they come in, pointing to them, calling on them. It's important to show love by the way that you interact. If your goal is to keep things in order, if your main point is to make sure that they know you're in charge, they're going to know it and they're going to feel it. If instead your focus and your purpose is to make sure that they feel loved, they will know it, they will feel it. And it will be shown in the way that you interact with them, the way that you speak to them, your body language. One important element of helping children to feel safe and loved is to encourage their ideas and their participation. There are many ways to do this in a group setting, and it can be an exciting journey trying to discover how. Number 3, creating that learning environment. The first step in creating a learning environment is to establish clear boundaries and expectations. Children want to do what you want them to do, but they need to know what that is. You need to know what that is that you expect. Once those boundaries are set and established, they don't need to test them as often. And as they do, and as they feel loved, there can be clarity. There can be a way to deal with those times in loving ways. It's important to take turns. It's important to give every child an opportunity to be involved. Include everybody. And have fun. You can't learn if you're not having any fun when you're that age. Number 4, teaching children about their power. Children can understand that power comes from the Spirit of the Lord. This power in them is innate. They come knowing how to feel the Spirit. They come inviting the Spirit. I came to understand my responsibility and my purpose in the primary and working with those children was to help them to identify when we felt it together, to help them to recognize the Spirit when it was there, and to teach them that they have a right and a privilege and a responsibility to invite the Spirit when they sing. What a privilege. It changed everything for me. It became a joy to come and sing with them each week once we all understood that this was what we were doing together. Providing opportunities to exercise that power. Again, once we had that initial focus, those goals of inviting the Spirit together, and once we were unified in that work, then we could start to employ those basic singing principles. One example of how I did this in primary was with the game Mr. Potato Head. The children would come up and select a piece of Mr. Potato Head. Perhaps we would begin with the eyes. Here we might close our eyes and listen to the piano and listen to our neighbors. We talked about how one way to invite the Spirit is to sing with unity. And as we matched our tones with each other and tried to sound like one voice, it was a way to worship. And we could feel that. We could feel that unity, and we felt the Spirit together as we sang in a unified way. It was also important for them to use their eyes to look at me, to watch when I was going to cut them off or give them clues about what was coming in our songs. The ears. In addition to listening to our neighbors, we learned about dynamics. We learned about soft singing and loud singing and crescendos, and how employing those different techniques could invite the Spirit. We sang at the top of our lungs, and we sang reverently and quietly, and we talked about the difference, and we experienced the difference in whether or not the Spirit could be present by how we sang, by how loud and soft we were. The nose. The nose was connected to our ability to breathe as we sang. So we experimented with nasal sounds with closed off noses and open, powerful, rich sounds. I taught them that their power when they sang came from their guts. I taught them to access that power by breathing deeply and supporting their sounds. And again, they felt that contrast, they felt that difference, and it was so exciting to watch. The arms. Here we experimented with different techniques in music like staccato and legato. And again, we had contrasts in how we could feel the Spirit as we moved and sang and phrased our music in different ways. The mouth. This comes again to unity. We used our mouths to form similar vowels and talked about how as we articulated the words, the truth of the message of the primary songs could be conveyed to those who were hearing, and they would increase their opportunities to feel the Spirit as they could understand those words that we were singing. The feet. I taught the children to use their bodies, to stand up straight, to hold back their shoulders, and again, access that power within. And finally, we added the heart. I tried to teach the children to consider whether or not they believed in what they were singing, whether or not they felt the truth by the Spirit of the primary songs that they were learning. And as they discovered that they did believe, they could sing with feeling, they could sing with conviction, and they could sing with their heart. I will always be grateful for that opportunity that I had to teach and empower those children through music and through the Spirit. And it is by that same Spirit that I discovered that I could be empowered as well.